This is the New American Media.
Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles to be specific. Hello everybody and welcome to the Unhappy Hour. This is a place where all of us Cleveland Indians, Browns, and Cavs fans get together. And this is the place where we lament over, what is it? This is the 50th anniversary now? It's been since 1964 since a Cleveland team has won a pro championship for the Browns, Indians, or Cavs. Yes, I know the Cavs weren't around in 64. I'm just saying it's been that long since the city has had anything to celebrate trophy-wise. Because you know damn well it's that last trophy that counts. But that's why we get together here on the Unhappy Hour. I am your host, Brian Engelman. Welcome back. Thank you, world, for helping us surpass 200,000 video views on our youtube.com/The New American Media channel. We appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed yet yourself, come on, man. Go on and do it. youtube.com/The New American Media. Click subscribe. We have sports, we have politics, we have humor, we have convention coverage, music, spirituality, every damn thing you could think about. I'm going to try to stop the casual swearing. Yeah, I'm going to try. Good luck with that. Anyway, if you're not following us on Twitter also, we're at American_media_. Please follow us. On Facebook, do a search of The New American Media with spaces in between and like the page. And check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. By the way, I don't know if you saw this. What do you think about this? There's a report out of the Cleveland Plain Dealer saying that the Cleveland Browns nearly traded for San Francisco 49ers coach Jim Harbaugh. Did you catch that one? Did you catch that one? Huh. So I'm gonna keep looking around on that one a little bit. And of course, the big news, the Cleveland Cavaliers have traded for Philadelphia 76ers center. 76ers center. There's a lot of Spencer Hawes, Hawes, and Zak Baris, who's going to be joining us in a second. We asked for his commentary, and he tweeted us 2 days ago. He said, Cavs adding Hawes is a nice addition to the team, adding length and depth to the front court, and now have a legit center. So I figure that's where we start today. Let's bring Zach into the program, and let's discuss the trade, and then kind of move around the NBA as we kind of gear up toward lottery picks and playoff seedings and all of that jazz now that the trade deadline is gone.
Your call has been forwarded.
That's my favorite part of every program. When I make the live phone call and it goes to voicemail. When did that most recently happen last? That was maybe 2 weeks ago with Emmy award-winning investigative journalist Ben Swan on our Agree to Disagree show. See, because if you had a producer, you set this all up in advance, but it takes a budget usually to get a producer. I don't know. Okay, we'll field offers for for producers that wish to produce pro bono to support the cause of Cleveland sports discussions. No, but anyway, that's just what you got to do. You got to make the phone calls and see how it goes. So let's try it one more time with Zach. Maybe it'll work this time. We gonna find out.
Hey, how you doing?
There he is. I'm living the dream. How you doing, Zach? You're live on the air.
I'm good.
Well, welcome back to the Unhappy Hour. Are you somewhere east of the West Coast, and it's probably at the end of your
work
week?
But I will be back next week. I'm coming in. I'm not coming to L.A. I'm coming to San Francisco on Wednesday.
Really? How long are you going to be in San
Wednesday
Francisco?
Wednesday to Tuesday.
Wow.
So I will be back, and then my crazy schedule begins. So
excellent.
Just just the start of the crazy schedule. So I've got just over the next 3 weeks. This is just planned trips so far. I've got San Francisco for a week, obviously, then New York, and then straight back, and then to Toronto the following day. So the travel schedule is going to be nuts.
Well, I was mainly asking to see if at the end of this long work week, if you have a beverage in your hand to make it the happy hour as opposed to the unhappy hour.
I will tonight. I will have a beverage in my hand after I go to dinner in a little bit.
Nice. Well, hey, man, welcome back to the program. Pleasure having you. And if you're not following Zak Baris on Twitter, please do so. He's at Z Baris. That's Z-B-A-R-I-S. Zach is a lifelong Cleveland sports fan and an NBA scout with an undisclosed team. And I read your tweet from a couple days ago. We asked you for just a snap judgment on Spencer Hawes being traded. So
He's looking good right now.
Yeah?
He had a three coming in, and then he had a nice block just a minute ago. I was just had the game on a few minutes ago.
Nice. So let's break it down. Before we get to the player, talk about the front office. How do you think they handled themselves during the trade deadline? Was it a good move?
I think they handled themselves really well, from what I can understand. And I honestly really like the move. They got a rim protector, which they desperately needed. Tyler Zeller's not the answer. And like I've been saying for 3 years now, Anderson Varejao is not a center. He's a power forward. This allows Andy to move. You don't even know what Andy's health is right now, to tell you the truth. From what I'm hearing, I have honestly no clue. This could be like it was last year when the Cavaliers, at around Christmas time, when I brought it up, I remember being on the show and saying that there was a deal for Eric Bledsoe and DeAndre Jordan on the table for Varejao, and the Cavaliers would have pulled the trigger, I think. Now, I don't know about Chris Grant, but any other GM in the league would have pulled that trigger. And Varejao wound up not playing another game that season. I remember being in Miami at that time last year, telling a couple friends, I go, if he's healthy, they're going to pull the trigger on this deal. It was all I was hearing last year. And then, he didn't play another game. I honestly, he's been out with just basically, they're not even disclosing what he has. So I honestly don't know what he has. I don't know when he'll be back, but Spencer Hawes is a nice addition to this ball club, especially now that they're trying to fight for a playoff spot. They've won 6 in a row. They look like a completely different ball club, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I really don't know what's gotten into them. I think that Chris Grant his firing, I don't know if it lit a spark. I don't know what it did. But I can tell you from just watching this team over the past couple of games, that it seems like they actually care. Kyrie Irving's no longer careless with the basketball at the end of games. He and Waiters seem to be in sync. Tyler Zeller looks like he actually is an NBA player.
Yeah, and that is completely counter to your assessment of Zeller for most of his young career.
Well, it was, but I mean, it's not like.
Well, it's only a few games. I'm not saying he's completely turned the corner.
I watched enough Zeller to see that he did not look like an NBA player. It's not like I hadn't watched him and been able to determine whether he was a serviceable NBA player. Because he wasn't. He's playing like it now.
And you got to wonder what caused all of that. Man, we have so many points to bring up here. Let's go back to Andy for a second before we get to Zeller. So do you have a hunch then? Because, I was seeing like they were just holding Andy out, letting his back heal up, his knee a little bit. He's just a little banged up and get him some rest. But I'm like, wait a minute, the All-Star break just happened. He had several days of rest, and he's still banged up. Do you think this center trade is something that we absolutely needed, or we just had a chance to get a solid player?
I think they were trying to get Hawes, and I think they were trying to move Zeller in another deal for Reggie Bullock to the Clippers. This is what I was hearing yesterday. But obviously, Griffin didn't feel the need to pull any trigger. He didn't make any panic moves. And I think the Cavs making that move by adding Hawes, they added a legitimate center, a starting center to their roster, who averages 13.5 and 8.5 a game. He's definitely a serviceable NBA player. I've been watching Spencer from his days since I was a freshman in Arizona when he was a freshman in Washington. So I've been watching him. He was a top 10 recruit in the nation, 5-star recruit. Came in Washington, played pretty well there, and has been a pretty big disappointment in the NBA up until recently.
And so, okay, well, 13 points, 8.5 boards, 3 assists. Okay, I'm seeing it here as I pull up NBA.com that wants to play me an ad automatically. Thanks, NBA.com. I didn't want that. Okay, so he's a legitimate center. And Andy, like you said, he's been playing out of position for a very long time, probably taking a lot of extra abuse on his body than necessary, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, I just don't know what he's out with. They said general fatigue, but that doesn't make any sense to me.
Maybe Belichick could come in and diagnose Varejao with diminishing skills.
They might not know what he has. I mean, the Cavaliers training staff, I will have to say, their new training staff has been fantastic. They really have. I mean, they've had very few injuries, and when they have, none of them are long-term. And I think that, they did a good job rehabbing Bynum. I know the whole Bynum thing didn't work out. We'll get to that. We'll get to Indiana in a minute. But I really have to say, though, over these last 6 games and having the game on now, they're playing decent basketball. They look like a legitimate NBA team. And someone said to me last night, they go, oh, yeah, well, they're just beating up the crappy teams. I go, that's what good teams do.
Right.
You the crappy teams. I'm sorry. Excuse my language. I'm really sorry.
No, it's
you beat up the bad teams, and that's what your goal is. I mean, when you look at those teams that win 50 games, when you play 40 games against bad teams, you should expect to win 34, 35 of those games of the under 500 teams. You should be beating them. You should be beating those teams 95% of the time. That's what playoff teams do. And you win at home, and you manage to play competitive basketball against the good teams. I mean, the Cavaliers are not a team that's going to go out there and beat Miami 3 out of 4, Indianapolis 3 out of 4. Those are the teams that you want to be able to beat 1 out of 4 times with beating the bad teams. Beat up on the Philadelphias, who you went 2-2 against this year. Beat up on Orlando, Boston. There are some really bad teams, and split the series with teams like Toronto, with Chicago, with the decent teams in the East. They're good teams in the East. Those are the good teams. And I'm saying the great teams right now, with Indy and Miami, are the only 2 great teams in the East. Those are the ones you want to at least just take 1 game from.
Right. Well, I mean, go figure. This Cavs team, I went to the Laker-Cavs game out here at Staples Center a few weeks back. The Cavs came in, played a solid game right after they got Luol Deng in the trade, who I heard was on the chopping block, and I want to ask about that as well. But I mean, the Cavs beat the Lakers on Staples Center court, then they come home, they get blown out by 30, 40 points with only 4 healthy players.
It was one of those nights. I mean, I told you before, and I knew Chris Grant was going to be fired before the game. It was obvious. I knew what was going on. Win or lose, he would have been fired. And to lose like that to the Lakers was just the final straw. I mean, frankly, I knew Grant was gone. I thought Mike Brown was going to be gone after that loss. But he's turned it around. It seems like their defensive scheme has changed a little bit. They seem to be guarding the perimeter much better. Now that they have a rim protector in Hawes. And also, Hawes is a floor spacer as a center. He's a guy who can take a 3. He has a nice jump shot. He has a nice outside shot. I really like Spencer Hawes as an addition to this ball club. He's a free agent at the end of the season. So if you want to go back and re-sign him, you can go and re-sign him. If not, let him walk. The Cavaliers they'll be armed with cap room. And it seems like, I think another big thing why the Cavaliers have had success is the emergence of Anthony Bennett. I think just he's been playing much better basketball. I don't know what's gotten in him. I think maybe it's just the conditioning has improved. And now that he's actually in NBA shape and he's in shape to play basketball, I think that's really helped him out. And he's starting to come along, and I think that's a really nice addition to this bench.
Well, but let's think about that, though, because of Anthony Bennett's emergence now, we knew he had a shoulder issue that was lingering in the offseason, prior to camp starting and the regular season starting this year with the Cavs. We knew that. We knew he wasn't in prime physical condition for that reason and maybe work ethic and others.
He's had a hell of a dunk.
Yeah, what is it? Cavs 22, Toronto 14 early.
Yeah, he just had a hell of a dunk. Yeah.
Well, let's think about it though, because if we knew that it was going to take Anthony Bennett a little bit of time to play, let's take a look at the Cavs, because Chris Grant was fired for drafting Dion Waiters and Anthony Bennett essentially, but Dion Waiters in that Rising Stars game was putting on a hell of a show. I want to bounce back to that for a second.
Like I said, it's a street ball game. It's street ball. There's no defense, and it's someone to showcase their skills. Individual games are so much when you're a player playing as an individual and not as a team effort, it's a totally different game. There's no question that Dion Waiters has the ability to play basketball, that he's a fantastic basketball player. But the aspect is that he's going to be judged on, and why people are so judgmental of Dion Waiters is because he doesn't play good team basketball. It's as simple as that. He's starting to get better and better, but I always said if Waiters could finish at the rim, he'd be an excellent NBA player. And he, statistically this season, for guards, he is the worst in the NBA at finishing at the rim. The worst at the NBA. The worst at the NBA. If you look at all the statistical take a look at all the statistical analysis for all you amateurs out there. Go to probasketballreference.com. If you ever want to learn about analytics, basically, and advanced analytics and advanced statistics to see how they're determined, go to probasketballreference.com. It's a great place to start, and you can learn a lot about a player's game.
And enter promotional code ZAK, that's Z-A-K, for 10% off your
I'm just
subscription.
sitting there. It's something I always use throughout college. I even use it nowadays sometimes to look up. It's honestly, it's the one.
I got to check it out. Yeah, maybe we can all be scouts now. I like it. If you ever type in a player's name, type in Pro B-Ball Ref after, and that's where it comes up, basically. I'm not sitting here promoting it. I do not own the site. It's standard for football and baseball, too. But if you go down, it gives the best advanced statistics that are available on, that's where everybody gets their statistics from. And it honestly, that's where you can basically look at a player and see how he's portrayed, because there are players who put up 17 points a game with 12 rebounds, but they're not really that valuable. And that statistical chart down at the bottom will show you why and how. It takes all the numbers. It takes the usage rate, which basically determines how many times you have the ball and how many times you turn it over per possession. I mean, it goes through everything. Anything you want to know about a basketball player in advanced statistics, it goes through it. So, in looking at Dion Waiters, he has a below-average player efficiency rating. He's below 15, which is average. I tend to think more on the lines 14 is average in the NBA, not 15. I tend to think it's more 14, based on what I've determined from my players that I used to watch and that I still watch. And so Waiters right now is a below-average player. I mean, one of the reasons Chris Grant was judged so hard is because those players, I think the biggest key was him passing on Tristan Thompson, Klay Thompson for Tristan, and especially last year, like I said, all along, if you're going to take a risk for a team where you can find a shooting guard anywhere, there are always shooting guards readily available in the NBA, always. And I think that's why I was so shocked they took Waiters. Unless you're getting a Ray Allen or you're getting a Dwayne Wade, you don't take a shooting guard like that. You take, if you're going to take a gamble, you should have taken Andre Drummond. Yeah,
Drummond
you've been high on him for a while.
He was a high risk but a higher reward than Waiters. That's what I think everybody looked at. And with Chris Grant's analytical projections, I think he was a very analytical guy. He didn't really they didn't do too much scouting on Waiters, obviously. They based a lot of their stuff off their analytical charts, and he chose Dion Waiters. The analytical charts always tend to favor guards. They always do. If you look at the NBA, there are more players with a higher player efficiency rating above 20 than any other position in the NBA. It's the easiest one where you can have the highest rating.
This is interesting with all the. Now I got some homework to do. I got to check out this site and.
So you have to take a look at that and to determine a player's real worth. Statistical worth to a team.
And Dion is sweet in a backup, a schoolyard basketball game. Great pickup. What did you call it? Streetball. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and deny it. I was very critical of Andre Drummond. I was very critical of his college game. I thought he should have stayed an extra year at the time. And the people I talked to that were very close with Andre even said they thought he needed another year in college. They really did. But he matured. I think Detroit was a great place for him. He's definitely living under the radar, and he's turned into a fantastic player. It's too bad he's on such a bad team. He gets very little exposure. And he's in that log jam in the front court with Josh Smith and Greg Monroe, which, like I said at the beginning of the season, I didn't think was going to work out because I didn't like Josh Smith playing the three. So it's unfortunate, and I can only imagine where Andre would be with having a point guard like Kyrie Irving. Yeah, I've been listening out here, the local sports chatter talking about how great, what were they saying, how great Kyrie and LeBron are going to look in Lakers jerseys next year. It's all crazy. Everybody runs a big game.
Yeah, one of the very few positive points about not living in LA is I don't have to hear that Laker BS anymore. That's the one thing I love.
Matt Money Smith.
I don't know when people used to make fun of me back when I was right out of college. I had just started working with my agency that I was with at the time in 2010, and I was still a diehard Cavs fan at the time. And I remember I was furious when LeBron left, and it wasn't that I was openly going against LeBron everywhere I went. But I rooted hard for Dallas. I wouldn't say I rooted for Dallas. I rooted so hard for Miami to lose that first year. And after that, I was over it. And I will never forget that. And when all my Laker friends said, oh, well, you guys are just sorry you lost LeBron. That would never happen in L.A. They go, wait till it happens to you. And it happened in, the Lakers had a desperate plea with all those staged white billboards. They had them all over there was one a block from my apartment in Hollywood. There was one on Hollywood and Sunset and Vine on that tall green building down there, on that apartment building, the glass apartment building. I mean, they were all over the city. That was just as desperate as a plea as they had for LeBron.
Hey, what is the name of that sports bar right over there at Hollywood and Vine?
Which one?
Irish pub.
Dylan's?
Yes.
Well, Dylan's closed. They lost their liquor license.
I don't find that
was
shocking.
when I was still there. As if they were. I think they lost their liquor license in April or May.
Wow.
I don't know what opened.
I haven't been there in a while, but I had a great time watching games over there. If you've ever been there, you know.
I always love the happy ending to watch the game.
Yeah, great for Buckeye games. Absolutely.
That was my favorite spot, just for any games. I mean, it was great.
No, but you're right. The Lakers had their deal. They lost Dwight Howard. Now they know how it feels. And yes, I was rooting strong. I tried to channel my rooting against LeBron into cheering for Dirk Nowitzki, and I got to see J.J. Barea and Jason Terry having some really killer games, and I actually became a fan of them. All right, they did a great job, and I rooted for them to win. And hearing my neighbors yelling,
over the whole LeBron thing, you know that I'm really not that critical towards LeBron. I haven't been for 3 years. The first year he left, it was very critical of him, and it was because I was very biased. And obviously, your opinions change when you're in the business. They change. They just do. And when you learn more about the game and you learn why he made the decision he did, I honestly, do I agree with it? No, but looking back on it, I can't sit there and disagree with what LeBron did. I mean, do I think the decision was a smart thing? No, but the guy's won 2 championships since, and he's been to 3 of them, so I'll give him his credit. He got what he wanted out of it. He wanted championships, and this is exactly what he's getting. He's gotten 2 out of 3, and there's probably a 40, 50% chance, 50% chance, I would say, he gets his 3rd in a row.
Well, let's talk about the team he left. Let's get back to the Cavs real quick, because I kind of want to hit reset in just a couple minutes here, and then just maybe bounce around the rest of the NBA, talk about, get your thoughts on a couple of the other trades that happened. But the Cavs with the 6-game winning streak. By the way, did you hear the story with that porn star that said she'd bang the whole team if they make the playoffs? Did you catch that story?
Yes, I did.
Any thoughts on who's it? Ava Devine? I can't say I'm necessarily familiar with her work.
I've never seen any of her work. But yeah, apparently she's a Cavs fan, so maybe that was motivation. If they get to the playoffs, they can have, talk about team unity right there.
Man, but
take them all at once.
It's kind of funny. She says that, and then they go on a 6-game winning streak. But I do want to talk about this 6-game winning streak, because as we speak right now, Cavs are up by 6 in the middle of the second quarter against the Toronto Raptors. But if they pull this one out, we're talking a 7-game streak. That's obviously premature, but let's talk about that for a second. I mean, this is such a deep draft. Is this the worst possible time to go on a streak? Should we tank? Do we need to make the playoffs? I don't know what to root for, Zach. I'm being pulled in 2 directions.
Here's the thing. This is me looking at it, is you have to take an unbiased standpoint here. If you're a Cavs fan or just any kind of fan around the NBA, you're happy that Kyrie Irving seems like he finally cares. You're happy that Dion Waiters seems like he can coexist with Kyrie Irving. And you're also happy that Anthony Bennett is finally showing that he knows how to dribble a basketball. So I think it's all positive from the Cavs standpoint. I mean, at this point, they've played themselves out of a top 5 pick. They have. Now, if they would have kept playing like they were over the past 3 months, then they deserve to have that top 5 pick.
And what was your quote? You'd be surprised if they won 20 games or something like that, the way they were playing a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I was surprised. This is a totally different basketball team that was on the floor 2 months ago or a month ago or 3 weeks ago. It's a totally different basketball team. I don't know what got into them, but frankly, I'm happy for them. Like I said, it had to be tough being a Cavs fan, sitting there and saying to yourself, going, do I want this team to have, do I want Julius Randle? Do I want Jabari Parker? Do I want Andrew Wiggins? Do I want them to suck this year? Or do I want them to make the playoffs and finally start playing well, like up to their expectations like they should? At the beginning of the season, I predicted this team would win close to 50 games.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like an idiot.
Well, I mean, looking at Andrew Bynum, I mean, I guess the Sixers can tell you that you shouldn't have held your breath on that.
But I mean, Earl Clark was just such a bust. I thought since he played under Mike Brown and he had a decent season, I was like, okay, he might be a nice fit. But the Cavaliers' lack of having a 3 on the roster again just crushed them. They had all these tweeners. Earl Clark, like I said at the beginning of the season, Earl Clark's not a 3. Anthony Bennett's not a 3. You didn't have a 3 on the roster. You didn't. And it really hurt the Cavaliers in all aspects by not having one.
Well, so we should probably root for the Cavs to continue doing well.
Root for the Cavs to play well because they played themselves out of a top 5 pick at this point. They're still in there for if they want to get to 6 or 7 to get near Aaron Gordon possibly. But after the top 7, top 8, the talent level starts to fade. You're not getting that potential superstar anymore.
Right.
So I think the Cavaliers, like I said, they're going to have their chance in free agency. Just don't make any stupid moves. And Spencer Hawes has had another nice – that was Zeller, actually. It was Zeller. Actually just had a nice block inside.
Some tall white guy in a Cavs
jersey. The Cavaliers have 5 blocks in it. I'm looking at it, and it's midway through the second quarter. I mean, like I said, their interior defense is definitely showing up, which definitely allows you to play better on the perimeter too. It allows you to take guys like Tristan and be able to play a little bit further outside and not have to try to dominate the paint when you have a guy like Spencer Hawes in there or Tyler Zeller actually being able to play the position now. So the Cavaliers do have a legitimate – they actually have a legitimate 5 on the roster now. Something basically they were lacking is a true starting center. I know Hawes didn't start tonight, but Spencer Hawes is a serviceable NBA player and a decent one at that.
Hey, can I get your thoughts on Kyrie's MVP performance in the All-Star game? I'm not sure we talked since then, have we?
It was a hell of a game. I mean, he always shows up on the national spotlight. He shows up on the national stage, and when he's in the spotlight, he always does great. So, and I think people took notice of that. I think Kyrie's now saying, okay, listen, this is my chance to be a star in the NBA. It's my turn now. I mean, LeBron hit this corner too when he was in year 3 with this Cavalier team after missing the playoffs the first 2 years. I mean, I just remember at one point he just turned it on in year 3. He turned it on. They wound up winning 50 games, and then in year 4 they were in the championship.
Yeah,
I'm
looking
not
at the
saying that the Cavalier team is anywhere close to a championship. And now if you add a certain player with the number 6 coming from a team down south, yeah, they'll be a championship team. But I'm not going along there right now. But getting onto these lines now, talking about the NBA playoffs and the trade deadline, I think the Indiana Pacers have.
Oh, hold on. We're jumping the gun. Let me hit reset. I'm going to split these 2 segments up in post production. But
okay.
no. I mean, my main point there was just kind of I looked at the similarities when LeBron was a rookie, when Kyrie. I think the Plain Dealer did a great side by side, and you know, making your first All-Star game, winning your first All-Star game MVP. The different milestones, Rookie of the Year, all these milestones, you compare their numbers, you compare their game, you compare their accolades, and it's like, wow, Kyrie's still, how old is Kyrie? He's
22.
He's a very young kid.
Or is he 21 or 22? I don't even know if he's 22 yet. I think he's 21.
I was shocked to see how, and they're almost the same age, like maybe 7 months apart, when they were drafted, when they've been in the league. So, I'm just looking at this going, wow. Okay, so we have another cornerstone to build on, but obviously when you're playing for a top 5 draft pick, you're not really impressing the kid with an organization that knows how to win, and they want to win. They want to make that money, they want to win, they want the bright lights. The final question on the Cavs does this improve the chances that LeBron James comes back? I wish I could put this story to bed.
I'll tell you this. Let's put it this way. Every win helps over every loss. Let's put it that way. I'm not saying he's coming back, but I'm saying every win helps. And you somehow get to 500 this year or around there, and then suddenly going, look, like, listen, this is what we could do. We're ready for the big stage. I mean, like I said, every win helps in your pitch. If you're going in there as a 24-win team trying to pitch LeBron, it ain't happening. If you're a 30-win team, not likely. If you're a 40-win team going in there and saying, listen, look how poorly we started last year. Look what Kyrie Irving was able to do. Look what all these guys were able to do. Come in here, we're a 40-win team. We made the playoffs this year. We're a 65-win team with you, LeBron. And we'll we also have the space to come in and bring someone else along in the picture too. I think that's another. I think it's another, big pitch to LeBron, which you can do. Now, I'm not saying they're gonna. I'm not gonna say they're gonna get LeBron. I think Miami has a decent chance of retaining him if they win the title, and I think the LA Clippers can also make their pitch to him if they're willing to let go of Blake Griffin.
Interesting. Well, then, fine. Listen, Zach, I'm going to keep cheering for the Cavs. I was cheering for them to lose for a while, but I got to admit I've been rocking my 2 Cleveland Cavaliers hats this week. I'm happy for the 6-game streak, and we'll see if Ava Devine.
I'll set them up with my porn star friend that used to live in my apartment building in L.A.
That's right. You told me about, what was her name again?
Sunny Lane.
Sunny Lane. Well, I could make
Always a good friend. Always a good friend.
Of course.
No, I know. I didn't mean it like that. I mean,
Hey-oh! No, it's fine. All right, well, I'll tell you what. Let's go back on the other side. Hit reset here real quick on the newamericanmedia.com and TNM Radio Network. Talking with NBA scout and lifelong Cleveland sports fan Zak Baris. Let's take a pause here. I'll hit a reset and I'll break this up in post-production. I got a question from a listener. Was curious about some trades that didn't happen. Really curious about Rondo, if he was going to move. And I just read a story. He's getting annoyed. He gets annoyed this time of year because he's always mentioned in trade rumors. But maybe bounce around the league, the trades that did happen, who wins, who loses, some of the trades that didn't happen, why, and kind of just an overview of what we expect to see moving forward as the rest of the season wraps up here in the NBA, making that playoff push. My name's Brian Engelman. You're listening to The Unhappy Hour. Make sure that you check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. Make sure that you're following us on Twitter at American_media_. Make sure you do a search of The New American Media on Facebook and like our page. And make sure you subscribe to youtube.com/The New American Media. We'll be right back on the other side talking with Zak Baris about everything else going on in the NBA, not Cavalier related.
You are listening to The New American Media.